Call the meeting to order at 6:15. A new school year is here. We have a lot of work ahead of us, and our agenda tonight is certainly full. I hope that we'll continue to work toward understanding of each other and be able to create a path forward with all of the transitions and the work occurring with the start of the school year and in our search for a new superintendent. So there is one adjustment to the agenda. We do need to add an executive session to discuss the superintendent's search, the personnel. I would move that we put that right after public comments so that it makes sense when we're talking transition updates. Is there a motion to add?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The order. Chris moved that. Lisa asked if, in case, Lisa Grace, who is taking our notes from online, so Chris moved it and it was seconded by Deb. So welcome this evening. This is the time for public comments. We have 15 minutes total, so a minute and a half. Those who are trying to figure out our timer. And so, let me just get my timer set. Are there any people online and in person who would like to speak? Oops, did we turn the recording back on?
I did.
Okay. Any? Want to come up? And I think that might,
I can hear it.
thank you.
Great. Hello, everybody and everyone online. I'm Linda Gray from Calais. And I want to tell you I'm delighted with that vote. And I'll tell you why. Because we had an extraordinary turnout in Calais and Worcester. Calais had a 50% turnout, highest in the state. And it could be a statewide record for an August non-presidential primary. So it was really very strong vote. Worcester also had more than 40% of their voters, their registered voters, showing up. The two towns pulled in a third of the total votes that day. And because we knew in a granular way how people were voting, because they told us either before they voted or after they voted, it looks to us as though the vote in Calais was about 6-1 not approved. And in Worcester it was even higher. We looked under the tables in Worcester. We looked on every road in Worcester. We couldn't find anybody who was voting approved on this. So I wanted to point out that this was a really strong vote, probably the strongest you'll ever see. And I think it's something to consider as you move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Any other public comments? Just want to make sure I'm not missing any online. All right, is there a motion to go into executive session?
I move that we go into executive session for the purpose of discussing next steps for our superintendent search.
And I'm wondering if it makes sense to include Heidi as our HR person who has been engaged in this work.
To include Heidi Demick,
Yes.
Second.
Is all those in favor of his executive session say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so
Well, after going through
you.
all this stuff,
So we want to thank the screening committee, not to be confused with the steering committee, the screening committee, which was the committee of community members, school personnel, staff, leadership team, as well as board members who was doing the search for the superintendent. So we thank them very much because their work has completed for now. We did receive word that Heather Boucher, who was the candidate still standing, has asked to be withdrawn from the search. So that was information that was shared. It will be up on the website tomorrow morning. I told Ashley I would reach out to her after this meeting. And we do have a motion coming out of executive session.
Yeah, I move that the board authorize the steering committee to work with acting superintendents to explore and pursue the hiring of an interim superintendent.
Second.
Just, sorry, I'm realizing the owl is not showing up. That's because it's not plugged in. Sorry. People online, were you able to hear anything?
I can hear everybody, everything but the motion.
Okay, so,
Yeah, I'll repeat the motion.
just a minute. Yeah, I'm trying to get switched to the owl. There it is, now it's there. Go ahead.
Okay, the motion was that the board authorize the steering committee to work with acting superintendents to explore and pursue the hiring of an interim superintendent.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. Thank you. So in terms of superintendent transition updates, we have Jen and Alicia still working with us. The steering committee will begin to meet with you all as well and to look at the needs of moving forward, and then we'll explore an interim. So that's where we're at with that. Thank you. So CISA update.
Yes, I will keep it short. The CISA board did meet for the first time on July 29th. We met at Spalding High School. The Berry District office, or the Berry District hosted us, being the largest district. We formed a small group to work to form the bylaws. Nothing really happened at that meeting. But the important thing, the thing that I do want to point out to you is if you go to the district website and you click on school board, there is a new link, and you will see it says CISA. It will take you to a website that Barry has created that has all of the information for our CISA in it. It has agendas, it has minutes, it has who's on the board. And so I would just direct you to take a look. Not much happened at that meeting. You can look at the minutes. We did establish our next meeting will be in October. And so I won't have really anything to report until then. But just if you're curious what happened, I would encourage you to go to our site, and it'll take you to the Berry site.
Any questions? And at our September meeting, we will need to be discussing the merger committees and committee and the representative to that. So that will be part of our first September meeting. All right, in-service day and start of school?
Yeah, school starts tomorrow. It's super exciting. If you've been around, we've actually had new teacher training for the past 2 days, and restorative practices training for U32 teachers started Monday. So our teachers have 4 days of in-service. Tomorrow they're working in their buildings, doing various activities depending on the needs of the building and whether it's a principal who's been there for a while or new changes to the team. Friday is our flex day for our teachers, and then our ESP staff, our school year staff, starts on Monday. We are starting together in the auditorium for a kickoff as an entire district, as has become our tradition. We'll have a breakfast. You are all warmly invited if you'd like to come. The three of us will make some opening remarks. We'll have a keynote about executive functioning skills, and then from there it's sort of differentiated depending on role and subject, and then back in buildings for the remainder of Monday and Tuesday. We will plan to give you all a report on September 2nd about more details about the in-service days and the first couple of days of school with our students.
Any questions?
What time does it all start?
Breakfast is 8 to 8:30 on Monday, and we'll start in the auditorium promptly at 8:30.
Breakfast is what he really wanted to know.
I know. Any other questions? All right, thank you. So we will move into our Central Vermont Career Center building project overview. I know that we have Chris and David here to answer questions. We didn't talk about the structure of it.
I'm happy to, I sent you a long email today. I wish I could have sent it before today, but it took up until today to get all the information. You, at the last meeting, had asked several questions. You wanted to know current square footage usage of this building, the parking lot space usage. Chris and David put that together for you, which I shared. You also had talked about there being a conflict of interest having Sean Toohey. I did reach out to Pietro Lynn at the firm that we use, and they had recommended Joe McNeil, who drafted up the lease. You can see in red all of the changes he suggested. The one piece that he wasn't comfortable and said, nor should the board set the rate for rent, he recommended finding a realtor, a local realtor who could provide us with some good information. And then Jody shared from Dave Epstein and Truix Cullens the question that you had asked about, could we build on from this building and where? So I would open it up to any questions of any of those of us who are here.
Thank you.
So questions? Chris?
Was there information about where there's buildable areas on the site? I didn't notice that.
There's a map.
The map shows 2 spots. If you,
Chris?
Oh, so was it this?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, like that. Oh,
You can look at that.
thank you. So those are the only buildable spots if we want to expand on the building?
I'm looking at Jody.
Those were the 2 that came up first.
Jody, if you could come a little closer.
Jody, that might. I don't think I'm the right person to answer this question necessarily, but when I broached that question with our architect team, who has worked with U32 in Washington Central District in other capacities, they shared that there were 2 spaces that they saw that when they were asked the question by us of could we just add on and have a connected building where that might happen. So I think you have that space plus any space that they've already put an option for a building before. But I'm not the expert on that, and I bet your facilities crew knows more.
Did they have any conversation about how many square feet that those areas that were highlighted are?
No, I did not have that conversation. Is Cam Featherston online? If he's not, I can get him online in a little bit, and we can come back to that question.
Okay.
And I don't know if Dave or Chris, either one of you want to weigh in on that?
We haven't seen it.
Okay. Zach?
A thought, which also raised some questions about Jerry's comment about like sort of, and anywhere else that we've previously proposed a building would also work. I wonder in terms of how we do this agreement, one of the things that sort of feels like constrained options is how sort of how it goes building, field, parking, and if we are I don't know sort of what the legal status of that parking is going to be. If that's something that we're leasing that then is sort of locked down. And is that something we need to say, the agreement is we'll lease the land for the building, clearly you have the lease for the land the building's on, and then we also provide you with a certain amount of parking, but potentially maintain the ability to move where that's going to be if we, if down the road we're looking at a regional middle high school and need to build something there and say, okay, the thing that actually makes sense is to take a plot of land that the central office is currently on, and that parking lot is on in the fields, and consider that all as one to put a building on. I wouldn't want to have the parking lot be the one thing that's saying you can't build a regional middle school.
Daniel?
So I had 2 follow-up questions. One was, maybe I'm forgetting that the timeline wasn't possible on this, but the wetland delineation. Do we have any updates on the wetland delineation and the possibility of using that space in the woods for an extra field, a replacement field?
We did get it, I passed it on to the architect, so if Cam comes online, he may have had the opportunity to look at that. But let me pull it up and see if I have a map as part of that.
Great, thanks. And then the other question was for Chris, with the parking projections, there's this maximum potential parking need. I was curious how many current parking spots we estimated we had and how many we might lose with this site construction.
We would have, let me see here, 373 total.
Yeah, Chris, would you mind?
Yeah,
Thank you.
we would have three.
Press the button, I think, I don't know.
On the back, on the
Yeah,
back,
it's on.
the bottom.
Back here.
Press and hold.
Press it and hold it, and then it's.
It's like on the.
Is that on?
There's a green light if it's on.
I got it. There we go. Yeah, thank you. So currently we have 314 spaces, and if we add in the 59 in the dirt lot that the proposal shows, that puts us at 373. And the information that I got from JB on potential drivers, in total would be 357 people, but realistically, his conservative number is 223 spots. So that's 123 faculty and staff and 100 students. That's where he's thinking it's going to be for this year.
Okay. And Jody, do you know roughly how many parking spots between students and staff CVCC would need?
I'm gonna say definitely less than 100, because we would have potentially about 35 staff. And we also can tell students they need to ride buses, right? So right now, we have 25 spots for our 200 plus kids. And so we have to be very diligent about making sure that our students who are not from sending schools that send buses have a parking space first. And then our co-op students, our adult students. And then if there's anything left, it goes to seniors. So it's a privilege, not a right to park. So we can work with that.
Elizabeth?
Okay, the mic is there. Yeah, I was just looking at section 11 in regards to subletting and assignment. The way that I'm reading it, and please forgive me, I am not in real estate or lease design, is that, let's say they made a decision to just sublet the entire premises, that can happen without approval of our district, is that correct? And if that is, then why would that benefit us?
They may not do it.
They may not?
Yes, it says they may not assign without advance written consent.
Sorry, thank you. I was like, that is a big red flag. Thank you very much.
Yes.
So then,
Other questions?
about the lease as well?
Yeah.
Any of the above, I would say. Joe also said he could be available by phone if we got into a place where we needed him.
I think that'd be helpful, available with them, just because is that possible now? Are we going through the lease now?
So there's a couple of things as consideration, even as we go through our lease, there's also, my understanding is there's still lease work being done, correct,
Right.
Jody, on your side?
I understood that our lawyer was gonna reach out to your lawyer today. I have not seen anything, so you have new edits on your side, which makes sense.
Right.
That I haven't seen, but we haven't seen anything on our side yet.
So, and the only reason I'm asking that is if he's not available and we capture all the questions, it's still working and that. So are there additional questions before we go to the lease? Since it's the second thing on the agenda, on this section. Were there additional questions that we had around placement of buildings, looking at the use of impact on fields and parking and that. Were there any other questions in that regard?
You know, I just, during the construction phase, is there concern about the noise factor of construction on the operation of U-32? Because inevitably there will be noise from a construction site, which may vary, I don't know. I'm assuming that once it starts, it's gonna go through the year until it's completed. And I just raise that as a potential concern.
I think you would have to face it. I know we did it in East Montpelier, right, that you face the noisiest parts. It is with, I'm not gonna say that it's not gonna be disruptive, right?
No,
Like there would be some, but it's up to the, you know, the builder, the clerk of the works, the facilities people to figure out what is the best way to move forward without creating too much disruption. So how do they face it in order to not bring too much stress to the system as it is, right? Like it could be so that people can park, so that it's safe. You know, there's a whole, Chris, you could speak to this.
I think about staging equipment.
Yeah.
And if we're in the middle of the school year or during the school year at any time, and where does all that equipment go? Because that's a pretty big project. And so there would have to be a place to park that stuff. There would have to be a place for materials to be stored. You know, similar to the work that we do during the summer, but there's, you know, no one here during the summer, so I hadn't even thought of that. That's a good point.
I mean, just, and I support this project. I just wanted, it's one of the factors that we don't want to be in a position that's going, what the hell, you know, and just at least plan for it or recognize it.
Michelle?
I would just say, U-32 in 2000 went through a major renovation.
Right.
Classrooms were happening in hallways. Everybody survived, and school happened the whole entire time.
You can survive.
Yes, they do things to mitigate the noise levels.
Daniel?
Well, first I just wanted to say for those online, what you didn't hear was Chris O'Brien just describing the potential challenge of having equipment staged and stored and materials staged and stored on site in response to Chris McVeigh's question. I just, for me personally, I wouldn't say I'm comfortable with the level of uncertainty around our potential future building sites or the clarity of like what we have to work with in terms of a replacement athletic field, but neither of those seems like cause to pause this process. And another observation is that I don't know if it's the board's best use of time, just in anticipation of some of Chris's comments, to like line by line micromanage the writing of the lease. I mean, it feels like the appropriate action for us is to authorize the chair to, you know, work out the details with the lawyer of a lease, and that gives CVCC sort of the clarity of purpose that they're looking for from us today.
I think the clarity of what we're looking for, but the approval. Jody, you were gonna say?
I actually sent ballot language that Sean did approve today, kind of late in the day. I should probably stand up. And it basically, when it goes to the voters, either of both districts, it says that they approve a lease agreement, period, that the board approves. So it doesn't require the full detail of that. It gives you the authority to move forward with a lease agreement. So I think that's super helpful for us because we weren't sure how much detail do we need for our communities, but it basically says we approve moving forward with a lease agreement and gives the board, both boards, the approval to move that work forward. So I think that's helpful to us because it gives us more time to make sure that we can nail down those details.
And that's sufficient for you, that kind of authorization is sufficient for you to warn a vote, a bond vote?
Yep.
So, And I hear what you're saying, Daniel. My only hesitation around it is if there are questions or details that Chris has come up with that we hadn't thought about, that it's helpful for, you know what I mean? Depending on how much minutia you've gone into.
I don't ever go into that.
Laura?
Well, I don't think it prohibits Chris for sending you the information,
Yes.
and then you can work with it, with
That
the,
only have
with
to
the,
Or-
with the lawyer. You could also work with the steering committee, whatever it makes it easier to move it forward. Maybe the steering committee could help with that, but you can decide. But then we don't have to spend to go line by line. I think that the information that was provided by the acting superintendents with the 4 points of clarity there, it was really helpful. So if everybody had a chance to read that,
Yeah.
we could move forward.
So I would say, send me your information, checking in then with you, Alicia, around the conversation with Joe. And that, we also know that there's additional work occurring as we will then look toward that work as well.
Just as a caution, the board should know what they're signing or what they're authorizing someone to sign and be aware of the factors, because it doesn't do well to say, I didn't read it later, and didn't know what you're getting into, because again, it's a legal relationship between two separate entities.
And then this would not be, I'm not being authorized to
No,
sign it.
no.
It is something that, from what I heard Jody say, was that we don't have to have signed, sealed, and delivered in order to have the ballot. We were concerned that if the communities needed to vote on the lease, and that came after the November vote, if the lease went down, then it would create this. So what we have found out through that information is that it's authorizing the boards to complete that work. And so none of this, it is still very drafty. It still needs to be looked at together and before any signing would occur.
Would you like me to read that ballot language?
Sure.
Okay. And is this on?
Yes.
Okay.
So this ballot language is our version, but you would also have to do this too for your voters. So insert your district. Shall the voters of the Central Vermont Career Center School District authorize the school board to enter into a 30-year ground lease with the Washington Central Unified Union School District for property located at the U32 Middle and High School campus, 930 Galveston Hill Road, Montpelier, Vermont, for the purpose of constructing, operating, and maintaining facilities for the Central Vermont Career Center pursuant to the terms of the ground lease agreement negotiated by the school board. And so you would flip that, right, to say, should Washington Central with CVCC? But that's the language that we were given.
So in terms of the mechanics of this election, am I assuming correctly that our voters will receive two ballots?
Yes.
One written one way, one written the other way?
Yes, they have to redundantly vote on this because they are members of our district and members of yours. Which people will get confused about, so we will have to be very clear about that.
All right, so that, knowing that information, Jody, what are you hoping to get from us tonight?
I believe there were 3 things that I requested last time, and this is gonna test my memory because I know the presentation might be in your packet again. You already had said we could work with Sean, we've got that legal piece worked out so that we can continue moving forward, working on those details for the lease. We wanna know if you're approving the location of the design of the option that we presented to you.
It's like a pop quiz.
And general support for us moving forward with a November bond vote.
Can I say one thing? So Chris and David are here because they did walk the property. They do have some historical knowledge and they could give you a little bit more if that's helpful about the exact location, that first question Jody asked.
Yeah. That would be great. Yes, please. Thank you.
So we're looking at option 4, correct? That's the proposal. And David and I have looked at this. That looks to us like the best of the 4. It doesn't impede on the entire bank where all the spectators are watching football, soccer, and all the other sporting activities. That bank gets packed with people, so there would be an impact there if we had to disrupt that. A couple of the questions we did have, looking at the proposed relocation of the field on what we have on this, and I don't know if I have the latest, this is from July 21st, down back of the tennis courts, and it looks like it kind of overlaps where there's a current storm drainage. There's a big swale over there. Just curious why that landed there. I wasn't sure, maybe Jody knows.
I'm gonna guess that when you guys walked it, that it was actually further down.
Yeah, we were looking at a spot
Yeah.
out in the woods.
Yeah.
So that is where it should look, not,
Okay.
it shouldn't be located on top of your swale.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah, and that is getting close into the wetlands, back on the far end of that, where it goes into the woods.
Yep.
Which would be another issue,
Yeah,
but
I'm not sure
we haven't
what's
seen
that
that new report yet.
Right, and I looked at what I had from Brad Wheeler, who did the wetlands delineation, and it's just some GPS coordinates, so I think with the information he sent to the consultants is a little more detailed around what that looks like, and they do the mapping of it. So I know that I had it sent to civil engineers and to them, and so that's something that they're working on. What I heard Cam say is that we are gonna have to shift the field a little bit from what they originally planned, but it still will fit down there.
Okay. Some of the other things, I mean, it looks like flow, I saw a note on drop off and pickup times, right, to not
Right.
have everything happen all at once, because it's pretty crazy out there now with what we have. It works, but it's just busy. But the flow, to me, where the parking and everything looks good. I can't really, I can't really think of much.
The one other issue was with the dirt lot on the way they have it, the way it looks like it's modified on this drawing.
Paved.
It's paved, but it's not matching what's there right now.
Okay.
And where that comes
Stormwater.
down, it runs into one of our stormwater issues. Runs into the stormwater.
And we had to
Okay.
add that one in particular with the parking lot project,
Yep.
because we added just a little bit more impervious material, and it put us over that three acre rule.
Right, so if we add even more, we're gonna have to do something more for wetlands.
Yes,
Yeah.
we're going to have to do.
That's part of our contingency plan on the costs. So some of the contingency has some improvements to the site here to think about that piece and potentially other pieces, so that's
Yeah.
important.
I think one of the other pieces, I think we'd be all right with the sewer that we have set up out there, but water will be an issue.
Yep.
Right now, we have a 4-inch line that comes from this building to Superior, and unfortunately, it's buried under the sidewalk.
Oh, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know that we're either going to need to add a similar cistern system, or we're gonna need to add more pumps at the base of the hill to get more water up here.
And it also looks like this latest drawing doesn't impact the sewer line that comes from the central office all the way over to Shapiro. That's like a 900-foot span.
It does impact or
It
doesn't?
does not look
Okay.
like the latest
It looks
drawings
like
would
it
impact
clears
that.
it, and it doesn't interfere with technology lines that run from Shapiro over to Central.
Yep. That's all we had for thoughts on that. But option 4 definitely looks like the best at this point for us anyway.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Any questions for Chris or David about what they just shared?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the
You're welcome.
knowledge.
Would it be okay to make a motion to authorize for the site and then discuss that? So I would make a motion that we authorize Central Vermont Carrier Center option, that we agree with option 4 of the site. Does that make sense? Chris, I'm looking at you too, Jody. for the siting. It was one of, we're in support of the location shown on 4.
Second.
So, yeah.
Second. Discussion? Zach?
So it says, I'm just sort of reading this more closely now, it says, you know, for the parking, for the additional parking proposed behind central office, it's, that, you know, it says potential, is that sort of a firm part of the plan, or is that a thing that we're thinking of, maybe not?
I can answer that one.
So in that plan, there is a potential expansion, and that is only if Washington Central and U32 becomes the regional high school. And we have to move the entire tech center here, and we need to build out a future expansion. That's what that parking's about.
Gotcha. So this would not be covered under the current agreement, this is thinking about a future agreement?
Yeah, so they drew out some future if that happened, this is what it would look like. But the current proposal is only that piece, and we believe we can use existing parking for that.
Awesome.
And there's maybe a little piece on the side of the building.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
There was one. Lisa, you want to know who seconded it?
Yeah. Oh, sorry for the echo. I couldn't really hear Floor's motion, so can you repeat that and also tell me who seconded it and who voted no, if that's important to note?
Sure, I can just say that we asked, the board authorizes the Central Vermont Career Center U32 site, option 4, location at U32.
And it was seconded by Michelle. Did you get that, Lisa?
Yes, thank you.
And it was, there was one nay. Motion passes. So the draft lease agreement we are still working on, and so.
Can I clarify too?
Yes.
Just as next steps, one next step is finding a commercial real estate agent to work on the rent. And then the other, I just wanted to, I wasn't sure where you landed with, should you include language around the parking, like a limited number of spots or something? There was discussion around it, but if we go back to Joe to ask him, do you want something added about a number of parking spots?
So Alicia, my concern there was looking at the map, I had interpreted this as saying that the potential future parking was something dedicated to the career center. And I was worried about that, that reducing flexibility in the future. Given Jody's responses now, that that's not the case, that it's thinking about down the road, I don't have those concerns anymore.
Okay.
And one other thing, Lisa and David Delacour both have their hands up,
Right.
which suggests that I wonder if it's a technical issue.
Right, because unfortunately, Lisa, did you have another question?
Sorry.
I did, I just, who voted no? I mean, it should have been a roll call, right? Because you're not all in the room.
Well, I mean, Marty voted no.
Okay, cool, thank you.
All right, yes.
So my question to clarify, Jody, the parking improvement that you're making, will you be counting on those spaces? Are we sharing? So it might be worth it to have the lawyer look at something related to parking when we're doing the lease, is what I'm getting at. Just because you're gonna be making some improvements.
We would use some of what's currently the dirt lot, because that's where there's space available. It would become paved, and that's where we would likely be parking our people. That's something we can talk about collaboratively.
So it'd be like you instead of through the lease, is that?
Yeah, so what I'm hearing you say is that.
Like, I don't think anyone, you own it, we'll have people parking there, we're updating it and updating a segment of it to make it so that it's easier for more people to park there. And then we would
Right.
know exactly how many U32 needs, and you would let us know approximately how many we had so that we could figure out how many student slots we have. We obviously want to make sure our staff have parking. And then,
Right, to me, that would become part of the agreement is that you are improving, so the space is increasing. And then the other part of it is that MOU around shared spaces, because that becomes part of the shared spaces.
and some of the
That's what-
students are going to be shared students.
Yes, yes, and right. Oh, so Cam just joined, Jody, if you wanted, did you have anything that you wanted to have him?
Try to remember what the, my cell phone doesn't work in here, you know?
To what end?
Yeah, so Cam, thanks for jumping on. There were two questions. One was a question about the potential additional square footage on the map that had additions to U32 where you could put them. How much is there? And then there was a question about the wetland impact on the replacement fields. And so I didn't have the answers to those, and if you do, that would be wonderful, thank you.
So the wetland impact on the replacement fields, I believe, is fairly minimal, and that can be worked around. I haven't seen the actual map yet, but I don't believe it's a huge incursion. And to be honest, I don't at the tip of my fingers have the there, but those aren't the only possible additions either. I had shown something that was, roughly the same size or a little larger than the middle school wing, and also something that was approximately the size of another gymnasium. But we don't really know what would be needed there either. What scenario would lead to a potential expansion? I think, my opinion is that there's sufficient room around the building to add square footage and increase the capacity if needed in various places.
Yeah, and there was also a
It's a
question
very, very
about-
different proposition to expand the. Yep.
There was also a question about staging of equipment, and I think that was on the other, it impacted the other practice field for that time when there's building. Is that accurate?
Maybe. I mean, that's also to be determined, contractors are pretty good at using what space is available. If there's space available, they'll use it. If there's not space available, they'll get space nearby. So I think that's also, to be determined. If the field is needed during the time of construction, I'm sure there's a way to figure that out. Nothing is set in stone.
Thank you, Cam.
Yeah, of course.
So then
Just, Jody, do you need anything more from us to move forward with the?
November.
Well, yeah,
Are you
for
in
that.
general
Do you need
support of-
anything more for that? Or you need an okay, that we think we're okay for a November vote?
I do need that.
Okay.
It's up to us to figure out how to word that.
Well, I think we only need to, if we're willing to support the project, then we have to just get our warning set by the 14th of September, I think.
So is there a motion?
Yeah, I'll move that we support moving this project forward to make it ready for a vote in November of 2026.
Second. Discussion, any questions? All those in favor, Daniel?
I was just gonna make a friendly amendment that we explicitly say election day, November 3rd, 2026.
Accepted.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
So, and then I think that there needs to be an authorization for me to work with Alicia and Joe, correct? Or is that already?
I did what you asked after the last meeting. It would be helpful to know what you want after this meeting.
Yes. So,
Authorization to work with Joe O'Neill, is that what you think? Okay, so I will move that we authorize Diane and our interim superintendents to work with attorney Joseph O'Neill on preparing the lease.
second by Zach. Any discussion?
Just a friendly amendment that we say acting and interim superintendents in case there's a transition during this period.
Did I say interim?
You
Did I give you a promotion that you didn't want?
Now we have both. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
And one abstention. And that's all you need, right, from us, Jody?
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Chris and David, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
And please don't feel like you need to stay.
I have a couple more things.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right, so, yes. Finance.
The next agenda item is about the partial corrective action plan proposed for the renovation area at U32, which is the kitchen area. We have Jennifer Cipher here from Stone Environmental. That's our contractor that's been working on the plan. And online, we have Evan Pendleton and Rob Farley from the Agency of Natural Resources to answer any questions. But I might just invite Jen up to give a little recap of it. I'm right here. Sorry.
I'm glad it's you and not me.
Right?
You're fine. Still working?
Probably not.
Maybe? Help. I do. Tech. And then I'll. Sorry. Don't worry.
Need duct tape.
I can also hold it if that helps. Yeah, can you hold it for now? I sure can. Okay. Hi, everybody. So I did prepare some slides, and then of course I'm here in person and not logged into the Zoom, so I'm just going to use this to reference. There was a link provided, I believe, in the materials for the full corrective action plan, so I'm not going to go through all of the details, but I'll try to give you a brief overview of kind of the history and where we got here and what this corrective action plan entails. So this is all about the PCBs that are present at U32, which y'all are aware of already. So historically, the Vermont legislature had passed Act 174, which required schools to test for PCBs. We did that at U32 starting in 2023 and found that PCBs were present in indoor air above the school action limit, which for the school, the high school population of grades 7 through 12 is 100 nanograms per cubic meter. So when that happens, then it kicks off an additional investigation where we did additional air monitoring and also tested a variety of building materials to try to figure out what building materials might be contributing to those PCBs in indoor air. Throughout 2024 and 2025, we sort of underwent several rounds of those investigations, and ultimately what we're here to talk about tonight is the kitchen area. In early 2026, we did testing and determined that there's caulking present. We need kind of doorways and windowsills within that kitchen area that do have PCBs that are higher than the bulk product threshold. And so knowing that U32 is investigating or looking at renovation in the kitchen area, that sort of precipitated the need to drive forward corrective actions associated with that area. The rest of the school is still kind of in the process of investigation, so we're not going to talk about that today. So in the kitchen specifically, as I said, there is caulking present that needs to be removed or remediated. The Toxic Substance Control Act gives us a few options, and we go through a process called an Evaluation of Corrective Action Alternatives, or an ECA. And what that does is say, what are our options for dealing with this? Option one, we do nothing, which is really a non-option because it doesn't satisfy TSCA requirements. Option two would be full removal of the product and disposal appropriately. That's kind of the best option in terms of actually removing the source completely, but it can have a near-term higher cost.
And option 3 was, in theory, option 3 would be like a targeted removal and encapsulation. So you can scrape the caulking off and then kind of apply some kind of sealant to what's behind it so that it can't continue diffusing into indoor air. That one was a little bit complicated in this case because the renovation that's being done in the kitchen necessitates the removal of some of those walls. So it was like this hybrid, remove some things and encapsulate the others. That option also carries with it long-term monitoring costs. If you ultimately leave some of those PCBs behind, you have to monitor them in perpetuity. So that can add up significantly over time and cost a lot of money. You have to go, be doing ongoing monitoring and O&M plan, similar almost to like an asbestos abatement plan. So ultimately, working with Susanna, with Chris, and with others at the school, we determined that that second option of just completely removing the PCBs from all of those doorways and window sills in the kitchen would be the most long-term cost-effective approach. So with that in mind, we designed this corrective action plan, and what that does is specifically detail how we're going to remove it, how much we're going to remove. PCBs, if you kind of don't know the chemistry behind them, they were used as a plasticizer up until 1980, and so they're present in things like caulking and sealants. And so you have your primary source, which is that caulking, but they can also diffuse into the materials around them. And so through our testing, we determined that the PCBs have actually diffused into like the masonry, the concrete block walls around those doorways a bit. So we know how far they diffused in, which informed the corrective action plan. So this plan calls for removing not only the doorways themselves, but 9 inches in perimeter around those doorways. So we know that we're getting all those PCBs out and satisfying the TSCA requirements. There is a contingency in there. We do have to do testing to make sure the material that's left doesn't have PCBs above what's called the remediation standard. And if so, we'll just have to keep taking more material until we get there. But again, we did testing 3, 6, and 9 inches away and determined that between 6 and 9 it fell below that threshold. So we're pretty confident that this will be a one-and-done approach. So following that, the idea is the school, and will help them with the bid specification, would hire a contractor that is licensed and has the experience to be able to approach a project like this. It's hazardous materials handling. There be appropriate waste disposal on site. While the work was happening, there's going to be like plastic sheeting to kind of create like a contamination zone so that the air and the dust and stuff aren't migrating elsewhere. And then following the removal of that material, we come in, we do it, like I said, an additional round of testing to make sure we got it all, and if that's the case, then the rest of the renovation project would proceed as normal, hopefully. So that's the long and short of it. If anybody has any specific questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Are there questions from the board?
Yeah.
Thank you for your presentation. Is the remediation done separate and apart from any renovation?
Yes, so the remediation and the removal of that material has to happen first.
Thank you.
I just might ask you, Rob, I don't want to have Sure. Rob or Evan, you can also feel free to add anything if I missed something. But.
Daniel, and then.
Yeah, I mean, I think my question's more for Suzanne, but I don't know if we are covering sort of the bigger topic of kitchen renovation authorization or just the report itself.
This is the report itself, and as a clarification, when we see what was in the packet, this is also the opportunity for public comment, so the community can also, even though this is out of the timing of it, it is part of this agreement. So also if there are comments, questions from the community as well around this, the PCB mitigation plan. Sorry. Seeing any hand, Linda. Yeah.
I'm Linda Gray from Callis. I think it's working.
Yeah.
I wondered about the other buildings, other than this building. have they been examined and to what extent they need mitigation?
So Rumney Memorial has been tested in all of those levels were below the SAL. Callis was started on the material inventory to test, and then the brakes. The legislature kind of got the brakes. So it's only been U32 and Rumney that have fully been tested, and Callis partially just on the material sampling, like the cove base around the bottom of the walls and stuff like that. And then it was stopped. So that's where we are district-wide.
Other questions from community or board? And then next steps. Suzanne, is there a part that's next steps, or is it?
Next steps are more combined with the capital improvement project plan, which is later in your agenda, it's coming up. But it's the Stone Environmental will work on the bid proposal for the remediation of the PCBs in that area. We also are working on the planning for the PCBs that were found in the remainder of the school, but we're working closely with the A&R group to work on a path forward that might look a little closer to what an asbestos plan is, and be sort of maybe guinea pigs on that, because we have an SAL level that is just borderline over the level, and so we're exploring opportunities with that.
What does SAL stand for?
School action level.
Thank you.
Right.
And so will there be, once that plan is in place, will it be similar where it will come back for a community dialogue?
Yeah, yeah.
Any other questions?
Well, just for the record, Suzanne, can you put the, what I understand are very preliminary cost estimates of the PCB corrective action in the broader context of the kitchen renovations?
Yeah, so we've included the estimates, the early estimates on the remediation in the kitchen project estimates that you have in your capital improvement project. And we are tracking them separately, so all of the expenses that we've incurred so far we're tracking, as well as anything that will come. That way, if the legislature approves any funding to fund the project that they've approved, we will put in for money.
So what's the estimate for the remediation alone? 75? Okay.
It was
The
about
$75,000 number?
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And I see that Rob has his hand up online. Go ahead, Rob.
Yes, so I'm the project manager for U32 and the PCB plan here. And I just want to let you know, this is, the corrective action plan is in the 30-day comment period that's required before we approve the plan. And so that's hence why we try to coordinate this with this meeting so that we could take comments from the public. But the public still has 18 days to provide comments to it that may help improve the plan or something for us to reconsider before we approve the plan. But once the 18 days go by and we've looked at comments, we will then approve the plan and it will be able to be implemented.
Thank you, Rob. Suzanne, have we been sent the entire plan?
Yeah. Finance definitely have it. I don't know if it's in
I
here.
think it was distributed with the board package materials as well.
Oh, was it?
Oh, yeah, because she couldn't like mold it into the packet, so it was like a separate attachment
okay,
on
so
your.
it's on the,
Yeah.
on the website. Thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that community member, board members, review it if you haven't had a chance to, and you still have 18 days to make those comments.
And
Chris?
do we have a space where the comments should be forwarded?
Does it say on the report?
It does say on the report, I think. Yeah, Rob, I think you could probably, I know it's posted on the environmental notice board, which is available through the state's website. Rob, do you happen to know better than that specifically, or can they just send it to you?
I'm not sure of the question again.
How people can submit those comments?
Oh, they can submit it through the board, or they I think my contact is there on board, and believe the notice was to submit comments, attention me at rob.farley at vermont.gov.
Thank you. Flor?
I think the one thing that we do need, because this is the time that the board has to discuss this, and the finance committee had a chance to discuss it at length, which is part of the reason you're not getting as many questions from the finance committee, is that as a district, we remain very committed to having a safe learning environment, and that's part of why we're saying this out loud today. And also we discussed that, or as part of the packet, that you guys have talked with all the property owners. Maybe I missed that when you were talking with the butters, and that has been also part of the work, but we're committed to safety of all our students and staff as a board and as a leadership team.
Any additional comments? All right, well, thank you very much. And also Rob and Evans.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
And Suzanne, do you have the next?
Do you want to just make a motion and then see if there's questions?
So if you look in your packet, is there someone who would like to make the motion for the next? Yeah, the dump. It's in your packet.
I move the board authorize the superintendent, or acting superintendent to purchase a 2027 Chevrolet Silverado with plow from Cody Chevrolet Montpelier for an amount not to exceed $72,533.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the next one is about the kitchen. Is there a motion, or do you want to talk about it? Why don't we do a motion and then we'll have the discussion.
The board authorized the completion of the recommended projects as identified above for the amount not to exceed $967,205, and approved the district moving forward with bid documents in preparation and bidding as necessary.
Second?
Second.
Second by Patrick. Any discussion?
Yes. I think we should seriously consider putting a hold on any capital improvements until we know what our budget situation is. We've heard that we are gonna have to find $2 to $3 million to reduce our budgets. That's still an accurate estimate for this upcoming year, not to go into the penalty zone.
I don't have an exact number for you, and I don't have a great estimate. I would say it's at least 1.5 to 2 million.
Okay, because I think we're hearing 2 to 3 from Steve.
It's all about enrollment, so I don't have enrollment numbers yet. So
Okay.
as our enrollment declines, that threshold becomes harder, and then the budget itself, how much our negotiations will land. So there's a lot of unknowns right now.
Okay, so given that, my concern is that if we're committing $957,000 to capital improvements when we're going to be looking at potentially cutting $1 to $2 million out of the budget, that should be part of the mix and in part of our consultation when we're going through the budget process. So that would be my concern about approving this commitment of funds now out of our next budget.
Zach, I saw your hand.
It's okay.
Okay. Other questions? Flor?
I think we should ask ourselves too, like some of this money is what we have set apart in our capital plan, and the work that we're doing, if we have done a lot of work to be sure that we maintain our capital plan and we maintain the assets that also affect the student outcomes for our kids. So I think what we're seeing here, you know, electrical panels, the kitchen renovation are all things that are gonna have an impact on our students, and we're not, you know, it's not, if we take into consideration how many buildings we have and the cost of which of the projects, we have put money aside for this, and we have made a commitment as a district to not, you know, we don't take money out of our capital plan to put it into other things. We have made this commitment as a district to stay, to not find ourselves in a possible bond vote because we have delayed the maintenance of our buildings too. So, I say that.
Daniel?
I was just gonna ask Suzanne if you could remind us when the kitchen renovation in particular was identified as a priority. That's part one. And part two was just the process of refining the scope of work and bidding and final project approval, like what that timeline looks like for those steps.
Sure. Or the kitchen project has been something that's been talked about since before me, which I've been here 5 years now, or more than 5 years, and been in the plans for about 2 years. And the initial allotment for the kitchen was designated in your FY27 approval, but because of the PCBs, it had to be tabled. So on page 42 of your packet, you can see that $418,015 was approved in that FY27 allotment, and the remainder of the costs were for the other projects. So really for the FY28 projects, we're approving about half is adding to that kitchen project. What was the second part of the question?
Bidding process and any final approval steps?
Yeah, so Black River Design has given us their soft cost or their cost estimate to develop the bid documents. They have not finished those documents yet, so nothing's been bid yet. Ideally, we would get things bid this fall so that we can be awarding things by January.
And we, the board, would vote on any such
Awards, yep.
awards.
Yep.
So there's just to state that self-evident fact, there's another opportunity for us to approve or deny the process.
Yes.
Thank you.
Zach and then Chris.
Oh, okay.
I think I know historically we've bid a lot of these things, you know, in a large group. It may, thinking about potential budgetary pressures, thinking about whether that option to have another decision point is a real one, we may want to look at look at bidding things separately, so that if we need to rank things and say these really need to go forward, these don't, that we have the ability to do it at that point rather than just getting a complete bid for everything and just have a yes or no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Chris and our project manager, Andrew LaRosa, and myself worked pretty closely with Black River Design, and we did bring some of your questions and concerns and are going to work with them some more to identify if there's opportunity that will maximize the stretch of our budget by splitting them. Generally, we've chosen to lump them, thinking that that will attract more contractors to bid on the projects. So we're really leaning heavily on Andrew and the professionals at the architect firm.
No, thank you. And I think there are two separate issues. There's the issue of, are there some smaller things that you don't want some big company doing, you want someone with a pickup truck and a post hole digger to do. The other piece is just for us is the decision point question, and the question of can we move forward with everything. And so I want to make sure that we understand those are separate. Those are actually two separate concerns, even if it's pointing to the same sort of process.
Right, just let Chris first. Chris and then.
Floor, you mentioned about the facility and student outcomes. Are you aware of any specific studies that tie facilities to beneficial impact on student outcomes, or is that an assumption?
No, absolutely. There's been several studies, and it's done in Europe, it's done everywhere. Actually, even David Epstein wrote a little book about it, but for example, natural light, one of the architects from Turks and Collins, he did one little booklet where it showed the link with student outcomes and the facility. So we do know that the built environment affects us all, right? So like if you have better natural light, if you have a better unit for heat and ventilation, your kid, the seats, they can wiggle, the kids are better able to pay attention. So it does, the built environment affects us. Well, I can't give you exact numbers, but I know for a fact that the built environment affects children, affects the students, and it can affect, lighting, for example, is one of the things that we're doing, right?
Yeah. So one of the other things I have a concern about here is we have two projects for Calais, and there has been a move afoot to close Calais. And I'm assuming that that movement has not gone away. And so why would we be expending capital funds into a building that the district as a whole may eventually close when it's not an emergency to do it? And when we're looking at a very difficult budget year that may necessitate cutting programs. I just don't see where, we're not having that discussion about those priorities and where that is the proper balance to strike. And I think we should have that fuller discussion before we commit again. And I understand that we can say later no, but I think once you're further down the line and we have the bid documents already done, ready to go, the pressure is there to go forward. And so I think having a fuller discussion before we get to that point would be helpful, especially in a tough budget year. I can't emphasize that part enough.
So we have Fleur, Daniel, and then Elizabeth.
I would just say to that, it's still our building, it's still part of our community. We own, Calais is as much owner of East Montpelier as we are much owner of Calais. We're still, as a community, as in taxpayers, it's still our building. So if it's, I'm not going to keep talking about that. It was going to be to add to what Suzanne was saying. When the finance committee met, we asked Suzanne at our next meeting, we are going to be discussing a little bit more in detail, getting a better understanding of the questions that Zach had asked and that we've been asking about bidding and how we go about it, and informing ourselves and inviting Chris and Andrew and Black River to be part of that meeting, so that we have a better, you were at that meeting too, so just wanted to share that.
Yeah. Daniel?
Yeah, I was just gonna disagree a little bit with some of the characterizing statements, because I think we've already retracted from what is our preferred, most responsible approach to capital improvement, which was a 5-year plan. We're effectively on like an 8-year schedule for capital improvements, which really should be happening within a 5-year time frame. So that's thing number one. Thing number two is, as you said, we will have another opportunity to scrutinize these projects individually and in the context of better budget information at that point. And I think, thing number three is, just to reiterate what Flor said, there are buildings, it's in no one's interest, ours or the town's, to have decrepit facilities in those spaces, and it's in everybody's interest. The corollary to that is it's in everybody's interest to keep them up and maximize and optimize their use as long as we can. Include them in the capital improvement plans, continue to maintain them, continue to invest in them, because they are community resources.
Completely agree.
Elizabeth?
Yeah, I just want to say that I agree with Chris. I think that given the narrative from our last budget season and the concerns about being able to maintain programming, I really do have deep concerns about driving forward without really understanding what is coming and how the board might move. I recognize the importance of honoring and moving forward with capital improvements, but I think we're going to have to be more creative than we ever have been with this budget season. And so I do have similar concerns to Chris, and I think that we need to really make sure all the decisions we're making we feel as sound as possible, and I don't feel sound making this decision right now. I would like to have a lot more information, and I think that we owe it to our communities to really look at this very, very carefully. I'm deeply concerned about the budget season, and I think we all really need to make sure that we're being as intentional as possible.
Marty?
I agree with Chris, and when I look through this, I see some things that we should jump on, that they're important to do. The lighting, for one, I think is going to save money in the long run. But there are other items on here that I don't see that they're an absolute necessity to do immediately, particularly when we're, from everything I'm hearing from everybody, our budgets, we've got to really work hard on the budget if we want it to pass. So there's a number of things on here that I just don't see the necessity of moving forward with.
So I want to clarify too, though, you know, again, we have heard that with the bids, if we say no bids, then we have no options. You know what I'm saying? If we say bids, then we do have another time when there's more budget information and there's more discussion that can occur. So, you know, what I hear you saying, Chris, that sometimes it feels like you know, the train's left the station once you get the bids. I am not sure any of us are going to be thinking that way as we go through this budget process, though.
We could authorize to get the bids drawn and not vote on this particular amount. I mean, there's a distinction between bidding, putting out the papers to bid the project, and then actually putting the bids out. So there's no reason, I think, to vote on this now. In terms of this amount, we can authorize the bids to be drawn, and I don't know what cost that would be.
It's the soft cost.
What?
$117,122.
Big investment.
$117,122.
Yep.
I just had one other thing to add about these projects, and I'm curious about Marty's statement. Most of these projects are safety and security items. So in our capital plan, we have priorities, and safety and security is one of our first priorities, and we're still tackling those projects. So the mag holds on the doors are a security project. The PCB remediation is included in the kitchen project. Paving requires doing because you know, if somebody trips and falls, that's a safety issue. Electrical panels, if nothing else, that one absolutely should go forward. And the security system, those are all safety and security issues.
Okay, sorry, Jen.
I would liken this process to what you just have been doing over the past couple months with CVCC's exploration too. There are balances and checks and balances in the system along the way. We have in this district worked very hard in the time that I've been here to establish safety and security measures in our schools and to continue to build these facilities so that they can be the best ones for our students. This has a not to exceed amount, and it allows the process to continue to move in ways that help us gather information to bring to you, and the decision making is still in your hands. But again, without the ability to go forward, then we're stuck. So I would recommend allowing us to go forward with the project to bring information to you so that then you can make even more informed decisions as we get more information about budgeting at the same time. This doesn't mean you're approving everything. It means you're letting us move forward in a contained way so that we can continue to do the work in service to this district.
So if we voted to authorize 117,000, whatever the number Suzanne said was, that would allow the process to move forward. Yes?
I mean, it would allow us to move forward at a certain state. I mean,
none of this work is scheduled to be done this year. Is that correct?
Not this year, no.
Not this year. So it's not pressing safety issues, because if it was pressing safety issue, we'd be allocating money from the fund balance to get it done right now. So this is future looking, and if we're, again, it's in the context of a very difficult, is anybody saying we're not gonna have a difficult budget year? Because that has been the drum that we've heard beating all through the end of our semester last year. And, you know, it's this balance between, are we cutting programs or are we saving buildings? And that's a real start and discussion, and I think that's what it may come down to. I don't know that, but if we have to cut $1 million or $2 out of our budget, that's where I think it comes down. So, you know, I don't oppose these projects, but if the balance for me is for programs, okay? So,
Floor?
my concern.
I'm wondering, Chris, what was with the finance committee who reviewed this? What was the recommendation of the finance committee?
It was to say yes, but I abstained, and you know I abstained, but it's for the fuller discussion, it's a full board discussion.
I'm just saying that, you know, as the finance committee also made the same recommendation that we're hearing. So if you allow us right now, if the board, you know, we obviously called the vote, but if the board allows us to move forward right now with this, you can still come back and say no later on to the bids, but to do 117 investment without commitment for the security issues is also not responsible of us right now.
I saw Patrick's hand and then Daniel's.
Yes, I have a mathy question. So this is nearly $1 million, but it's not, but to Chris's point, it wouldn't actually save it. If we'd said zero, wouldn't actually save us $1 million on this year's budget, because this is not work that would necessarily happen this year. Is that accurate?
It's transferred to the capital.
Next year's.
It's next year's.
So it's next year's budget.
It's money to be expended out of the capital fund, which currently has an amount that will have an allocation from this fiscal year. And then when I prepare the budget for you next fiscal year, there'll be an allocation. We are at a point where we're almost putting in the amount that you're funding for the project, the projects that you're doing in that year. In the past, we've had a very sizable fund balance in capital and been able to plan ahead and spend ahead. We're approaching that, you know, fine balance where you're putting in about as much as what you're planning for the coming year.
Yes, that was my next question, in that the capital improvement budget is something that we put in, so you might just explain this, but it's also, and therefore it's separate from money that goes towards programs.
The fund is, right? But when we prepare the budget every year, we put in an allocation from the general fund to transfer into the capital fund, which helps fund those projects in upcoming years. Helps us plan for them in that 5-year plan that we've developed.
Right.
So we've actually developed a plan that allots a certain amount every single year, and that's how we've said, okay, this is how we'll do these projects in 2028 and these projects in 2029. The board has to allot a certain amount of money in each of those years to complete those projects. If we don't, we will be deferring capital projects. We will be putting off things that need to be done.
And so, so what is our situation right now? Are we to the point where we can afford to pay for these projects out of the existing capital fund, or do we need to contribute? Have we been contributing appropriately for the last few years to be able to pay for these projects?
We have the money in the fund to pay for these projects.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say that, you know, Daniel had his hand, then Zach was the final, and then we're gonna take the vote, and the vote will be the vote. Daniel?
I was just gonna mention the context that I'm thinking about, the numbers specifically, was our conversation in Finance Committee, which was, you know, do we put ourselves at a disadvantage by putting a number out there? And to people, is it sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy that if you say something is not to exceed $1 million, you get 5 bids between $950,000 and $999,000? And I think some of us thought maybe yes, that does happen. I'm curious, Suzanne, if there's any material challenge to you in preparing bid documents, if we still authorize the completion of the projects and approve moving forward with document prep, but don't explicitly name a number.
No, because you've already approved your plan that allows me to, well, allows the superintendent to sign that agreement with Black River Design to prepare the bid documents.
So I guess I would suggest as a friendly amendment to floor that we just change the language of the resolution to authorizing the completion of the recommended projects as identified above and approve the district moving forward with bid document preparation and bidding as necessary. Just omitting the language for an amount not to exceed. Blah,
So
blah, blah.
that's a requested friendly amendment. It's up
You
to
can
you to
refuse.
accept or not accept.
No.
Zach? Okay. So the motion before us is that we authorize the completion of the recommended projects as identified above for an amount not to exceed $967,205 and approve the district moving forward with bid document preparation and bidding as necessary. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
So there were 2 nays or 3?
Abstain.
2 nays and 1 abstention. All right, and so then moving on to our next part is about personnel. I don't have the updated sheet, that's on me. Is there a motion?
Vacancy report first.
Oh, yes. Sorry, yes, vacancy update first.
Yeah, so we've been working very hard to hire. We're in really good shape. Big thanks to Heidi in HR for helping us get this together. We currently have 4 vacancies in the professional faculty. We have a .1 opening in library, media, and tech integration at Doty. We have a 1.0 athletic trainer / assistant athletic director at U32 vacant. We have a 1.0 school psychologist position that is vacant, and we're still seeking a special educator for U32. We are almost completely staffed with paras. We have a few in and out, and we still have a little bit of uncertainty with students. We're waiting to see who ends up coming. We've also been doing quite well with staffing community connections and after-school programming at Berlin. And just yesterday or today, you got the updated packet because we found a school counselor at Calais. So we're in pretty good shape right now.
Any, Daniel?
That sounds like great news. I was curious, what our full staffing for special educators at U32 would look like? So what % down are we if we don't have one?
I don't think I have that number
Okay.
at my fingertips, but we have in the past had more vacancies at U32 in
Okay.
special education than we currently have now.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Any, Elizabeth?
Yeah, I'm not sure if you can answer this, so I apologize if you can't. Are there candidates for the school psychologist position at U32?
So we have been advertising that position in an ongoing way. We need to meet that need. That was a vacancy that was created in the spring for us. So we've been working with a consultant to get that work done so that we can complete them in a timely manner while simultaneously continuing to seek somebody in the permanent position.
Sorry, one more question. For the library tech at Doty, is there a possibility to share that with somebody who's currently doing it at a different school so that that isn't vacant, truly vacant?
Yeah, the position itself is not 100% vacant, as I recall. It's just partially vacant right now. Because of the shifts in the FTE, you could probably, that's at your fingertips.
So it's a .3 position, and all of our librarians are shared among buildings.
Yeah.
There just isn't enough of them to add up to that other .1.
Okay,
So it's 2 people who need to serve in that .3. One of them is already working at Calais and East Montpelier.
Okay,
Next year, Doty as well.
thank you.
That point one is, it's also advertised as a long-term sub, it's advertised as both,
Oh, great, okay.
just so we can
Yeah,
try
thank
to
you.
get someone in the role.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, then moving on to the personnel, the new hires and resignations. Is there someone who can read that?
I move we approve the new hires of Alana Smith, literacy interventionist at U32, Jasmine Nakway, school counselor at Callis, Caitlin Zino, PE and health at Berlin and Callis, and Teal Church, school nurse at U32.
Second?
A second.
Floor second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. The resignations.
I move that we accept the resignations of Ruth Frisenda, a school counselor at Callis Elementary, and Anthony Snow, Dean of Students at U32.
Second.
Thanks.
Second by
Appreciation.
With thanks and appreciation. Thanks. Any discussion?
I have a question about the Dean of Students. Are you intending to find somebody to fill that position?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Even though we're overloaded with administrative people?
So U32 has done a lot of thinking about how best to meet that need around supporting students in discipline. They've actually reconfigured that position for an ESP position as school-wide behavior support, which is similar to positions, para-educator positions we've had in other buildings. So that's how they're gonna meet that need, and then they're continuing to reorganize their administrative support, so it will not be a licensed position. It's gonna be replaced by 2 ESP positions to meet that need.
Any additional questions?
I guess how will we know that that's working?
Well, I think that one of the things they're doing is monitoring the behaviors. We collect behavior data on a regular basis and analyze that to figure out what our students need. So by examining our data, we'll figure out if that is best meeting our students' needs.
Any additional questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. So moving on to the consent agenda, the minutes of 8/5.
I move to approve the minutes of 8/5/2026.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. So future agenda items, we did mention about the need for we'll talk about the merger study updates at our next meeting, and we'll need to elect a representative, thank you, to that. And so the steering committee, as we're launching into the next year, will look at all of those items that we talked about last time. So do know that the text information, and there was a variety of points that we will put on there. Any additional agenda items that people wanted to make sure were noted?
Just the one for the ballot, for the vote.
Thank you. Yes.
Well, I guess I'm just curious in terms of our work plan and our calendar, and our plan to have a board retreat when a superintendent were identified. Now we have a different timeline, and I'm curious whether we want to go ahead with our retreat sooner rather than later because of that.
So I would say that's a great future item, because I think we need to see what the next couple of weeks bring, and whether or not what that planning would look like.
Okay.
Reflections of the meeting? Don't get excited, board, we have another executive session. Just letting you know. So.
Change that.
Yeah, change that reflection. All right, so this is the second time in our agenda for public comments. So please, Just a minute, Lila, let me get this situated. All right. So if you would like to, I see Lila, so just 1 minute, Lila, and then if others, please do raise your hand, and go ahead, Lila.
Yeah, Lila Richardson from Worcester. I've mentioned before that I'm very concerned that the steering committee just meets and discusses items without a public meeting, without any minutes, without any recording. It seems that the board is delegating more and more to the steering committee. It was explained to me at one point that the steering committee only prepares the agenda, and that's clearly not what's happening anymore. And I really hope that the board reconsiders that. I'm looking at the calendar that was reviewed, again, the draft calendar that was reviewed a few meetings ago, and it appears that the steering committee has a sort of regular time slot, which is the alternating Wednesday from the board meetings, the last Wednesday of the month. And so next week there will be a board meeting and you'll be talking about the superintendent position, which is a really important issue for the district. So I'm asking you to make that a public meeting. And just on the topic of the open meeting law, I would point out that David Delcourt is correct. If you have board members who are participating virtually and there's not a unanimous vote, the open meeting law says that you should be taking votes by roll call. And people want to know who is voting if it's not a, on which side, if it's not a unanimous decision, but the law actually requires that, as David said.
Thank you, Lila. Any additional? Denise.
Alice, I just wanted to say I support the technical center, career center, or whatever you're calling it. My concern is we have heard ad nauseum about how there is so much space because there's not enough students. Why is there not somebody looking at repurposing East Montpelier, Berlin, whatever, to make that into the career technical center? We also have heard ad nauseum that it's okay to bus students here, there, and everywhere. So why spend millions and millions of dollars to add on or add buildings to what we already heard was underutilized space?
Thank you, Denise. Any additional comments? All right, so they're not hearing any. Is there a motion to go into executive session for negotiations?
I'll move that we go into executive session for the purpose of negotiations to include anybody else?
Suzanne and Heidi.
Suzanne and Heidi.
And there are 3 board members currently, and so so let me see. Can you create a? So we're going to try to create a room. I'll bring my computer in.
Just need a second.
Oh yes.
Who just call them on the phone each second?
There's 3. So now that Ursula was there as well, and but maybe she's not there anymore. Is there a second to go into executive?
Second.
Sorry.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Diane, I have to recuse myself from it because I have a spouse.
I also.
in the
Yes,
district.
yes, so there are 2 recusals.
I will make a motion to approve the ESP collective agreement and the salary schedule.
Second. And now that we've been reminded about roll call, since there are 2 people online, let me start with Julia, yay or nay?
Yay.
Andrew?
Yay.
Elizabeth?
Abstain.
Oh, abstaining, sorry, thank you. Marty,
Yay.
Yay.
Michelle's yay,
Yay.
from Judy,
Yay.
Zach, Chris,
Yes.
Patrick.
Yay.
Yeah.
Okay, so the motion passes. Did you get that, Lisa?
Who are you speaking Scottish?
Yeah, here.
Okay, thank you, thank you. All right, that is it for tonight. Let's look at the agenda, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.